Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me, and welcome to a special review for the brand new Mike Tramp Songs of White Lion Volume 3. Volumes 1 and 2 were released in 2023 and 2024 respectively. The release date for this, September 19th of 2025, and put out by Frontiers Records. We're going to get into it, break it all down, do a full review and unboxing of this album in just a bit. But if you are new to my channel and haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things do help support my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by turning on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on really cool things like this with a brand new review for the Mike Tramp Songs of White Lion, third in this series that he is doing. We're going to jump back a bit though, because Mike was born in Denmark, and while he actually had some success with his first two bands, Mabel and Studs, he would actually choose to relocate to New York City in 1983. And of course, as they say, the rest is history, where Mike and Vito Barata would form White Lion and release 4 studio albums during their heyday, of which the songs that are appearing on the Songs of White Lion series come from those 4 albums during that heyday. So the band would kick off with their first album, Fight to Survive, in 1985, though it was a Japanese-only release at the time. And they'd follow it up with Pride in 1987, and this is the one that really broke the band. They had a top 10 Billboard Hot 100 hit with When the Children Cry, and it would help the album go on to sell 1 million copies. And so the band would follow that up with Big Game in 1989, this one featuring my favorite track, Little Fighter. That song appeared on Volume 1. It would ultimately be certified gold, and their 4th and final album during the heyday being Main Attraction in 1991. And unfortunately though, with the rise of grunge, this album didn't fare all that well, and the band would break up in 1991 as well. And in 1992, Mike tried to give it another go under a band in Freak of Nature, but it didn't really pan out. And so in 1998, he decided to reestablish himself as a solo artist and release the album Capricorn. And so this album, having less of that 80s bombast and sound and everything, and was much more introspective in the rootsy rock sort of sounding way, but it was still containing of all the sort of vocal stylings and delivery and passion that we know and love Mike Tramp for. So for me at least, I really enjoyed this new direction that he was going. It fit the times, it fit the era, and it fit his style perfectly, in my opinion. And that style he's been doing ever since, and it's also the style that he is doing for these Songs of White Lion series. The idea being, re-record and reinterpret the songs as if they were written and recorded today. And this being really something to let the fans and the people know that are going to see Mike Tramp live, that that's how those White Lion songs are gonna sound. What I like about it though is that it gives each of the songs a sort of fresh take, a new approach, and it's like hearing the songs for the first time all over again. I still have the originals and I still love those, but I can also listen to this for it to have that new take. The thing is, it still retains all the hallmarks of the original. You can still get that feel of the 1980s from it, just like you're being there all over again, even though it's that new style that is something that Mike Tramp has been doing since 1998. Mike first started this series in 2023 with Volume 1 and followed it up a year later with Volume 2 in 2024, which leads us to Volume 3. And this is supposed to be the conclusion of the series, although I would still like to get a Volume 4, I would hope, with all the remaining tracks that haven't yet been re-recorded. I'll talk more about that in a little bit, but we are going to go on and talk about this. Volume 3, 10 tracks appearing on it, clocking in at 46 minutes. The album continues in the same vein as Volumes 1 and 2. The songs hold closely to their originals, but but are updated as though they've been written today. I still think they have a tremendous amount of energy in it that breathes through. That shows you the quality of the songs, that they sounded great in the 80s, done in that style. But think of Mike Tramp as a modern day artist covering White Lion, and that's what you're getting here. The power and the beauty of the songs still shine through, though they're being recorded present day. There are subtle rearrangements that modernize the songs a bit, but the big guitars are still there, and that is a credit to the lead guitar player, Marcus Nann, who is taking on a big task of filling the shoes for Vito Barata. Marcus Nann is a guitar whiz himself, and he really pulls off the lead work just absolutely beautiful, in my opinion. And he's kind of the secret weapon of the album. We know and love Mike Tramp and his vocals, and we know and love what we're going to get with him. But I don't think that he has had a guitar player that has sounded as good and amazing, able to pull off the style of Vito Barata the way that Marcus Nann has. So I'm absolutely loving his role in the band, and hope that even if this series of Songs of White Lion is over, that Marcus Nann stays with Mike Tramp going forward, and we get to hear the power of his lead guitar work on future albums from Mike Tramp. So this is kind of an interesting thing, because we have bands today doing lots of remix albums and things of that nature, and we haven't gotten that yet from Mike Tramp, but we have gotten these reinterpretation albums, and I kind of see it as the same thing. And so that's just an interesting way. It's not a simple re-recording. There's so much difference and variety and change up to the material that is, as I said, it's like hearing it fresh for the first time. And so the other thing of note is that while we have those great guitars from Marcus Nann, Mike Tramp's vocals are absolutely amazing. He isn't singing and sounding like the 1980s, but we are way beyond that. And whether or not his vocals can still hit those high notes and things is a whole separate topic, because he's singing in the style that he's been singing in for the last more than 30 years plus at this point, from the mid to late 90s. But I just absolutely think that Mike Tramp's vocals are amazing, and hearing them brings me right back in time to when I first listened to White Lion. It's very nostalgic. It's like hearing an old friend kind of a thing. And for me, that allows the album to feel and be what it is, having those vocals that stand out so well, that still to me to this day sound like Mike Tramp, the way that I remember him sounding. All right, so let's take a look at the track listing for Songs of White Lion Volume 3. Now, on other versions of the album, we cover all four of these, as I talked about at the beginning. But what's kind of interesting is that on Volume 2, they didn't have anything from Big Game on it. Well, on this one here, we get songs from Big Game, but we don't get anything from Pride on it. So we're just focusing on these three albums for the songs that are on Songs of White Lion Volume 3. And I wanted, before we dive into that and break that down, Mike Tramp had said that when he started this one here, he didn't know that it was going to be a series. And so he made this like a best of, covering something from all the albums, having all the big hits on it: Hungry, Wait, Broken Love, all those. Little Fighter, my personal favorite. It's a fantastic recording. But then he got the offer to do a volume 2 of it, and there were still some secondary hits that didn't make the first cut of the album, so he put those on, but it became a different flavor. This is a mellower album, whereas the first one rocks a bit more. And so you do get a different flavor. You get the more rock and all the hits, and you get the volume 2, some leftover hits, but you get a different, slower paced flavor of an album on here. But again, when Mike Tramp was doing Volume 2, he didn't know that he was making a Volume 3, which is what we really want to talk about here. So he says now that had he known that he was going to do 3 volumes of this, he would have spread it out and done a track listing, sequencing different, where there would have been hits on all of the albums and there would have been a different flow to it, but it's unfolded the way that it is unfolded. And I actually find that very interesting because this, for me, is like an album for the fans because it's got so many deep cuts on it. It is just a lot of fun listening to this thing because there's even some on here where I didn't recognize the song titles and I had to go back and look them up. And so that's fun for me as a fan that knows the band so well and some of these songs so inside and out that I don't always need to hear the hits. So getting to hear some of those deep cuts on here is a very cool thing. So let's go ahead and break that down now, what those are. So Fight to Survive, the debut album from '85, there's 4 songs on Songs of White Lion, Volume 3. We have the title track, Fight to Survive, which is a well-known track, so that stood out to me. But In the City was a song I didn't recognize. I had to scratch my head, go figure out what album it's on, and it's a great one. It really stands out. So now that I like it so much off of here, I've got to go back and give Fight to Survive version a listen. We also get Cherokee, and I've known Cherokee for years, and that's been performed a lot. So to me, Fight to Survive, Cherokee, I immediately recognize they're kind of hits off of there. But you also get another deep cut in All Burn in Hell. So there's some good, well-known stuff coming off of that. So as mentioned, we skip over Pride on this release here, but we're getting material from Big Game. There's 4 songs coming off of this, including Dirty Woman, which is the second track on here. Anyone who's had this album is going to know that song. Then we get If My Mind Is Evil and Don't Say It's Over, 2 of which I didn't recognize the song titles from, so again, scratching my head, had to figure out where it came from. Nice deep cuts, almost like these are new songs on here because they're just so underplayed and under the radar style songs. It's making it very fun hearing these new versions of it. But we actually get a legitimate hit in Radar Love, the cover of the Golden Earring song off of Big Game. That finally is making its appearance on here. And I think that Mike chose not to cover that on the first 2 volumes of this because he didn't write it. It's not his song. It's a cover song. Maybe just needing that hit. I mean, there was a music video for it. It was all over radio. He chose to do it for this, and I'm glad he did because for me, I will forever know that song as a White Lion song. I didn't know it as a Golden Earring song. So me growing up, I thought it was White Lion until years later when I found out, in fact, it was a cover song. But having that on here, it closes out the album with track number 10. And so, as I said, bona fide hit on this album. And then they wrap up Main Attraction. We have 2 songs off of this album from '91, War Song and She's Got Everything. And War Song and She's Got Everything, for me at least, I know this album inside and out, so I immediately knew those songs. Glad to see them appear on here, getting done. War Song in particular, I think has been updated brilliantly for the times. So I very, very much enjoy hearing that one and the choice of that one off of this album. So it's very interesting though that with this one here, Volume 3, he hasn't completed re-recording all the songs from one album. There is something left over for each album, and he could make a Volume 4. So if he was going to make a Volume 4, let me get all the albums together here. So Fight to Survive, we're still missing 2 songs, Where Do We Run and Kid of 1,000 Faces. For Pride, we're still missing Sweet Little Loving and All Join Hands, which are absolutely fantastic. I kind of thought those would have been included no matter what because just such a big album. Big Game from '89 is missing 2 songs, Baby Be Mine and Let's Get Crazy. And Baby Be Mine, too, I thought would have been one of the ones that would have gotten covered. So a little surprised to see that it hasn't been. And then Main Attraction, there's 3 remaining. Leave Me Alone, It's Over, and Blue Monday. So there are 9 songs that could be recorded for a Volume 4 if Mike Tramp deems it necessary. Every time he has said he's not making another one, and then he does. I hope that he does, but from all of the current interviews, it really sounds like he is done with the series, with this one. And I did an interview with him about a year ago for Volume 2, of which I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want to check it out, where we were talking about this one here, and I proposed him making the Volume 3 and making the Volume 4. And I suggested if you don't want to go back into the studio to re-record, you're out on the road playing these shows. And at that time, he had worked up more songs than the ones that were just on the albums. And I suggested recording it live, if that's an easier thing to do. So he's got these 9 songs. I would love it, and I'm sending this out to Mike Tramp right now. I hope that he either re-records these 9 songs, whether he does it in the studio or he chooses to do it live, and he can do a Volume 4 Songs of White Lion to finish it off, because my real love for Somewhere Down the Road, whether I put it together or not, is I really wanted to see him release the songs sequenced as the albums, maybe as a box set, maybe only on his website, who knows, but he has to re-record. Now, of course, he could also just re-record those songs separately, not put them out as an album, but go ahead and start releasing the album sequenced, and then as the bonus tracks, you're getting those additional ones completed on there. A bunch of different ways that Mike could continue this thing. We'll have to wait and see what he chooses to do. Let's take a look at the album, though. We have this cover here, and was a little surprised by it because this has the classic White Lion logo. He's often used the, cat skulls on there. So on this one here, this is another style of logo that they've done. We still get the White Lion logo. So if you first glance at these things, you see White Lion, it draws your eye in and you know what you're getting with it. Whereas with this one, we don't get the White Lion classic logo like we have from these two. We get this alternative version of it here. Now, White Lion is still the biggest thing that we're seeing, and we get the name of Mike Tramp in the Volume 3 down here, smaller. So if we first glance at this, we see White Lion, and of course, we hope it is going to draw fans in on it. But I'm just surprised that it didn't continue the trend, and at least the look of these, so that they would all fit together, because when we look at these now, I see these two going together and not really this one. So not sure what was the thought process on it, but that is the album cover here. If we flip it over, the art goes well together. There's our 10 tracks spelled out on it. Opening it up, we get another alternative cover where this is a picture of essentially Mike Tramp, but done in the style of the cover. I actually think that would have made for the better album cover, considering it is a Mike Tramp doing the songs of White Lion, and I would have understood if we had moved away from something like this to something like that. But I'm not part of the art department. What do I know, right? I'm just a fan weighing in. The under the disc is the same as the backside, and I'm going to pull out the art here if I can. Give me 1 second. It got a little difficult there for whatever reason. Just couldn't get my finger under it. So front cover, we open it up and we get a little album info, and we get some cool live shots because he's been out on the road touring for these last 2 albums nonstop the whole way through, and it has been great to see him out there doing that. Really being able to not only make a living at doing these songs, but the fans coming out to relive it with him, and having that fun, getting to do these songs in a present day style. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm still hopeful that we will get a Songs of White Lion live, even if it's just songs from these 3 albums, as well as a DVD Blu-ray of a show, just to document it, because this has been such a cool thing that he is doing. It's just been long overdue, in my opinion. And I'm glad. I think it's the proper way to treat the White Lion name. The legacy is doing a beautiful job with it. And so, considering that Volumes 2 and Volumes 3 were not originally planned, as I said before, I kind of feel like this is an album for the fans. It's a gift, in my opinion, because it wasn't expected. So I am really thankful to Mike for going on and doing these and understanding that the fans wanted it and putting it out. So many times artists do things like this, and oftentimes it just leaves the fans wanting more. And when the fans wanted more, Mike stepped up and he delivered. In the case of this, we didn't quite get the whole White Lion catalog done. I am still hoping that he chooses to reinterpret the remaining 9 songs, that there will be more. But, like the previous 2 volumes, those interpretations have been extremely interesting on this album. It really updates for today and it doesn't force it. It just sounds like this is the way the song was always meant to be sung. And like I said, it holds all the hallmarks. So when you listen to it, you're not missing any of those things that drew you in the first time. It's all still there. Case in point, Mike Tramp's vocals sound great, and Marcus Nann's guitar pyrotechnics pull off, sounding great and fitting in the style and vein of what we would have expected from the originals when Vito Barano was the one doing the guitar playing on those songs. So songs sound both classic and new and fresh at the same time. None of them seem out of place, and they all lead me to reminisce about, my time growing up with White Lion. And I think that's a wonderful thing that Mike has been able to give us. And, like I said, while Mike Tramp has said that he doesn't think there will be another volume, he's also said that he does not intend to continue this lineup under the White Lion name, making new White Lion material. If new material happens, it will come out under Mike Tramp's name. But regardless of anything being called White Lion or not, I am loving what I'm hearing. I love the direction that Mike Tramp and the band have been going. And it would be very interesting if the next Mike Tramp solo album uses the band that he has out playing live and on these albums and continues this more rocked up version of his solo sounding material. That could be a lot of fun. However, if Mike fully returns to just doing solo material after that, I'm going to fully embrace it and welcome it in, and I can't wait for that as well. So there you go. That is my review of the brand new Mike Tramp Songs of White Lion Volume 3. I can't believe that we got 3 of these albums from him. I'm just so joyful on that. Would recommend you checking this stuff out. If you've heard this one here, weigh in. Let me know your thoughts on it. Are you enjoying all the deep cuts on it? Do you feel it's just as good as the first 2? I know I do. I hope you do too. All right, everyone. Talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.